Yeah, that's funny that this is coming from Google talking about iPhone security. Okay, so Google says iPhone security flaws let websites hack away for years. Well, that's the big headline. Years. Like 20 years.
I'm just hearing about it
Uh,
now.
20 years. No, it's two. It was 2 years. But when it says years, it's like, how many? How long? Okay.
Clickbait, you know? I mean,
Yeah. Yeah, 2 years, that is a plural, so 2 years.
Technically.
Okay, so malicious sites installed a monitoring implant that compromised personal data on iPhones that simply visited them, according to security researchers.
got to be careful
Okay,
of those phishing sites and those unknown sites putting worms on your phones.
okay, so Google's Project Zero security researchers have revealed that they found several hacked websites that slipped malware onto people's iPhones for years. Years! Okay, if people visited one of the sites, their messages, photos, and location data could have been compromised. The team reported its findings to Apple earlier this year, and the vulnerability was patched in the same update that fixed the FaceTime eavesdropping. Now, this
Which is
isn't
so interesting though, because I didn't hear anything about this. I only heard about the FaceTime eavesdropping thing.
So
well,
apparently, Apple has some security issues, which is
well.
odd coming from
Some.
Apple, who
I'm
who
Where's that say?
prioritize their
it,
security and privacy and stuff like that.
The funny thing about whenever these security issues happen or there's news about them, there's there's two things that could be going. There's two ways it could be making news. One is the better way, which is they're telling you that there was a security issue, but they patched it even before the news broke. That's I would say that that's good. They're just reporting that like, okay, there was a problem, but we fixed it, so settle down. You know what I mean? But what's bad is when there's a big fucking because this is talking about is it's bad when there's like an actual gigantic hack that happens and
This
people
seems
lost
kind of
that
like that, in my opinion, considering this has been going on for years.
2 years. They this got fixed back in February. Okay, we're learning about it now, but it got fixed back in February.
Yeah.
Okay, just something to mention here. Okay, so this is a quote from Google's Project Zero security research. There was no target discrimination. Simply visiting the hacked site was enough for the exploit server to attack your device, and if it was successful, install a monitoring implant. Project Zero's Ian Beer wrote in a Thursday blog detailing the team's discovery. We estimate that these sites receive thousands of visitors per week. Okay, so the attacks are a rare display of vulnerabilities for iPhones, which are generally considered highly secure devices. Apple has offered up to $1 million in bug bounties for security researchers who can find critical vulnerabilities on its devices. Often attacks on iPhones are difficult to carry out and are usually limited to espionage between countries. It's unclear who's behind this attack that could compromise millions of devices just by a single visit. So, something that this kind of gets into, which is interesting to me, it sounds like typical security vulnerabilities on iPhones and Apple devices. It sounds like, from what I just said, they're saying that usually it's targeted to a specific person. Okay. Meanwhile, uh, with Android and Windows, it's kind of like a wide net.
Yeah.
Just anybody can just fall into some trap. But usually with iPhone, it's targeted, like they're talking about like espionage. So it's like if usually when iPhones have security issues, it's it's real sneaky, and it's coming from like a government targeting like a specific person, which I find very, very interesting. So all the hacks that seem to happen on iPhones, you never hear about them because it's like a black op mission
They're targeted
happening.
hacks. Meanwhile, this what happened here in this case is this is the wide net that that you just talked about.
Yes, just
Worldwide net.
Just
There
visiting
various
these sites was enough to infect, like you said, millions of people. So this is pretty big. This is a pretty big deal, actually. They're kind of trying to downplay it, but the millions of people's information
I
has been compromised as a result
I
of
hate
this.
I hate Apple, and I'm kind of downplaying it myself. But okay, so it's always been possible, but the cost of these vulnerabilities on the open market means they're never uh, been used in an attack like this before. Thomas Reed, director of Mac and mobile security at Malwarebytes, said in an email. In the past, iOS malware has been primarily used in targeted attacks by nation states. By targeting specific people, they limit the exposure of the vulnerabilities used, protecting them against discovery by Apple. So when they do the targeted black op attacks against a specific person, it limits it being picked up and
It limits
patched.
the exposure of the backdoor.
Yeah, so it's another way to think about this. On Apple, we're talking like a sniper bead, like a very small target,
Mm-hmm.
precision, long distance, shooting some guy from a mile away, assassinating somebody's fucking home, uh, somebody's security. Okay, I mean, you know what I mean. Meanwhile, these are like little individual little sniper shots, but other typical hacks, they're just like big freaking gaping holes that just try to trap as many fucking people as possible. And if enough people run into problems, the more likely they're going to get found out. Okay, so the hack didn't work off a single vulnerability. Google's team found that it used 14 zero-day vulnerabilities across 5 separate exploit chains. The vulnerabilities ran from iOS 10 to the current version, iOS 12, meaning the hackers targeted iPhone users over at least 2 years. When Google, okay, so now they're here. It's saying at least 2 years. So it's
Possibly
yeah,
more, possibly less. We probably don't know the
yeah.
exact how long this has been going on for.
Okay, so when Google disclosed the vulnerability to Apple in February, the company issued a patch less than a week later. So they said this got resolved back in February, and we're just learning. The hack gave attackers full control of a victim's iPhone, allowing them to install malicious apps, get real-time location data, and steal photos and messages, even if they're encrypted. Because of the malware's deep level of access, it could even get contents of messages before they were encrypted. Google's researchers said the implant could access the device's keychain, which includes passwords and database files used by end to end encrypted messaging apps like WhatsApp, Telegram, and iMessage. As the attacks siphoned off people's personal information, they were sending that data without encryption, which meant that anyone on the same Wi Fi network could also see all the stolen content.
Hmm.
Now, that's pretty much everything with this story. But this is one last thing. iOS doesn't allow for malware scans, and it's possible that contributed to the hack being hidden for so long. So if on the iOS App Store, right, you can't download a virus or malware scanner. Those don't exist. It's this kind of reminds me. There was a guy who ran for president back in 2000 named Ralph Nader, And back in the 60s, I believe, he wrote a book called Unsafe at Any Speed. And it was this book talking about a specific car make or model, I think, that this book was talking about how there needs to be mandatory seat belts in cars. Okay, and because of the work of Ralph Nader, that's why we all have seat belts in cars. Yeah, just to cut to the chase here. And people used to think that seat belts meant the car was dangerous. Like, oh, if you need seat belts in it, then it's not a safe car. You know what I mean? People used to think like that. Okay, and maybe Apple thinks, oh, if there's virus scanners on the iOS App Store, people will think that the shit is not safe or something. That's
Apple,
kind of what.
take it from us. Anybody can be hacked. Anybody can get a virus, even you. Just because you promote your privacy and safety and all that stuff doesn't mean you don't get in trouble every now and then. We've talked about it previously. We're talking about it now. Like,
the very nature of iOS intended to keep devices secure. The very nature of iOS intended to keep devices secure may have worked against us in this case by preventing the attack from being discovered. So they probably should allow for some kind of third party virus scan shit,
or even a first party something.
or
like,
even a.
Like, come on, even Google has something built in to Android to help
Well,
you with that
technically,
stuff.
wouldn't. I'm sure Apple has to have some kind of built-in security on their stuff to begin with. So, what we're talking about here, this is something that would have needed to be discovered by a third party because it clearly got by whatever Apple's security is on their frickin' phone to begin with.
All right.
Okay.
I think that's enough about Apple.
Okay, next story about Amazon. U.S. senators wrote a letter to Jeff Bezos expressing grave concerns over illegal and deceptive products sold on Amazon. Now, I got to say, this letter from the three senators, it from what I read in the story, it doesn't sound like it actually. I don't even think he has to respond. This all kind of sounds like a publicity stunt to me by the senators, just trying to get attention to themselves, but probably for good reason. This case here, because apparently there's some dangerous shit sold on Amazon. Okay, and I wish I could get into
Stuff that should probably be recalled and stuff like that.
Well, but it sounds like there are things that have been recalled that are being sold on Amazon. And from the list you fed me here, Zach, the article you fed me here, Zach, it sounds like there's a lot more than what I'm going to discuss. I'm going to mention a couple of them, okay? But it sounds like there's a lot more.
We're talking about over 4,000 products here.
Yeah, okay. So 3 United States senators wrote a letter to Amazon CEO Jeff Bezos calling for the online marketplace to remove illegal and unsafe products and to provide accurate warnings to shoppers. The letter comes after a recently published Wall Street Journal investigation found more than 4,000 items for sale on Amazon that were deemed unsafe by regulators or deceptively labeled. The senators include a list of questions for Bezos to answer by September 29th. And like I said, this whole deadline thing, this letter, I don't think it's like, this isn't like a legal document. It just kind of seems like a publicity site. If they really want Bezos to do something, they ought to subpoena his ass or something.
Speaking of like deceptive marketing, I guess you could call it, on Amazon. Like, are you guys aware of the YouTuber King of Random?
No.
They do a whole bunch of stuff, and recently they tested how fireproof like safes and bags and stuff like that. So they bought a product that was labeled as a fire-resistant safe on Amazon. When they got the product itself on the box and everything like that, there's no mention of it being fire-resistant at all on the product itself. And to the point where it's like it has holes in the side, in the back and the bottom of this safe, where you can like attach it to the wall or floor. Like it's not even like solid construction and stuff like that. So there are stuff that are on Amazon that is listed for things where it's not actually meant for. So this
But are we
this
really
could be an example
surprised?
of,
Because anyone and their mother can sell things on Amazon.
well, yeah, but these are like, eh, it comes to mind when we're talking about a story like this where it's deceptive and
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, it's like, I guess any other site that where anyone can just sell something because you don't know what all of the stuff that they're selling. Like, might have some really good solid products and they might have some really like just jank products. Like, I don't think there's enough quality control for the amount of people that sell on there, at least not yet. So I'm not surprised. I won't buy anything that I know needs to be like name brand or something like that from Amazon.
All right, so this is how some of the letter goes. We write to you with grave concerns regarding Amazon's failure to remove from its platform illegal, deadly, and deceptive products and to provide required visible warnings on products sold on your platform. Unquestionably, Amazon is falling short of its commitment to keeping safe those consumers who use its massive platform. Senators wrote in the letter, which also notes it's illegal to sell recalled items under the Consumer Product Safety Improvement Act of 2008. I wonder what kind of recalled products.
you mentioned something about like a
Okay.
baby wedge or something like that.
Yeah,
Something meant to
okay.
prop up
There it
kids.
was. Okay, the journal found that Wall Street Journal found that 116 products sold on Amazon store between May and early August were incorrectly listed as being approved by the U.S. Food and Drug Administration, including 98 eyelash growth serums and toys, which the agency doesn't even test. When I hear this 98 eyelash growth serums, what Zach said was just some kind of hair growth product, but is that something that women would buy to put on their eyes? Oh,
Oh yeah,
my
yeah.
eyelashes will grow. Like,
They market it that if you put it on, it will naturally make your natural lashes grow versus putting on false ones or buying false lashes, which is all the rage. So I don't know that it actually works. I've never tried it. I've never heard of anyone that's actually worked on.
don't buy it from Amazon.
I definitely would not. I don't dare
There,
buy anything like that from Amazon.
it's worth noting that
Skincare.
products like this, like the eyelash growth serums and stuff like that, this was, I believe, talked about a couple of years ago or whatever. But some of those will actually change your eye color. It is straight stuff like that. It applied to eyelashes and stuff like that. It like goes, obviously soaks into the skin, and your eye is obviously right under there and stuff like that. So it has actually changed women's eye colors as a result.
Okay, so 98 eyelash growth serums and toys. It says 98 eyelash growth serums and toys. I just wonder what is the proportion here? Like how many of this 98 are eyelash serums and how many are toys? And they're talking about US Food and Drug Administration. There are toys that have FDA approved labels, like fake FDA approved labels on Amazon. Yeah, it says the agency doesn't even test. They wouldn't test toys for Food and Drug Administration. It just doesn't make any sense.
Well, I mean, there are some things that you would like candy related that you would probably associate with more
Edible
toys.
edible toys.
Well, not
An easy
necessarily
bake
edible
oven or
toys, but
something, or like
so
make your own candy.
Okay, I'm having a flashback. I
like
remember
when you were
back in the 90s, like easy bake oven
easy
kind of
bake
stuff.
ovens.
Okay.
There's stuff like
Wasn't there something where you could like make like night crawler
creepy
things,
crawlers. Yeah.
yeah, just stuff. And I think maybe
No,
something related
those
to that
were
that you could actually eat.
yeah, the
Yeah.
creepy
Some
crawlers were like plastic or rubber or
yeah.
something like
Yeah.
that. But
Yeah, I know that there was something like that where you could eat something. It would look gross, like, oh, I'm eating worms, but they're gummy bears, or you know what I mean? It's yeah, it was some weird cooking kits that
but
yeah, I
also
guess
like
they're
you go
kind
to a
of like
convenience
toys.
store and there's like stuff that was like candy you could play with and stuff like that. Like the ones where like it's a lollipop, but it spins the lollipop for you and stuff like that. You know, it's those little battery operated like the candy filled fans and all of these other type of stuff too. You know.
Okay, this is really fucked up here. A 23-year-old man named Albert Stokes died in a motorcycle accident after a helmet he purchased on Amazon flew off during a crash, according to the journal. The helmet was falsely labeled on Amazon as being compliant with the U.S. Transportation Department. So, it was probably something made in China, some cheap helmet, wasn't shouldn't be here, like
Yeah, that's fucked up.
flew off somebody's head, you get in a motorcycle crash.
But yeah, basically, just be careful what you buy off Amazon.
Yeah, this is what Amazon said in a recent blog post.
Amazon's becoming eBay from the from the late '90s, early 2000s. It seems like right now.
One day shipping eBay.
Okay, so Amazon has said we invest.
eBay's gotten a lot more reliable in recent years, but
Amazon says we invest significant resources to protect our customers and have built robust programs to design programs designed to ensure products offered for sale in our store are safe and compliant. Well, what else are they going to say?
apparently
Okay,
they're not investing enough,
yeah. Okay,
or
so
someone's skimming off the top.
the letter the senators sent included a list of questions the senators demand that Bezos answer by September 29th, such as why Amazon's current safety measures have failed to prevent unsafe, mislabeled, and recalled products from being sold. It also asks how Bezos will ensure that Amazon will not sell products deemed unsafe by the National Highway Transportation Safety Administration, the FDA, and the Consumer Protection Safety Commission, and other federal agencies. So yeah, it sounds like there's like all these different agencies that have put the ban hammer on some products that are still being sold on Amazon. Stuff that I guess if they sold them at Walmart, they would get taken off of shelves, but they're still on Amazon. Well, the funny thing
Yeah.
is, some of these products, they're not being sold directly from Amazon. They're being sold by, I guess, unscrupulous other companies selling through Amazon. And
Yeah.
they could just
Exactly.
lie. They could just lie about what the hell their product is and shit.
Well, and it's like, even if it looks like the real deal, it's hard to really know if it's not a fake. Like, it might be packaged like the real deal, but then it's, a shitty helmet, but they market it as like a legit helmet, or like a shitty like skin here I've seen. It looks like the real deal, but then it's like it doesn't do shit. It's just like there's so many different fakes that look real. Like, how do you combat that?
The letter, the way that I'm hearing it, it's almost like they're kind of sending a letter to Jeff Bezos. When are you going to stop beating your wife? It's kind of like that. When are you going to stop beating your wife, Mr. Bezos? When?
When?
When are you?
Well, what wife now?
Yeah, divorce.
Mm.
Yeah, Jeff Bezos was worth like $150 billion, and now he lost like 40 billion or more just from a divorce.
And his ex-wife says she's going to donate quite a significant amount of the money she won in the divorce, actually, to charities. So,
Yeah, she could get on with like the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. That yeah, Amazon has they need to respond to this, or they should. But this letter, it's like they're just publicly shaming Jeff Bezos. That there isn't any legal subpoena. They're not like bringing Mark Zuckerberg to testify. It's not like that,
Dude,
you
Mark
know.
well,
Zuckerberg.
you know,
It's
It's
I
such
not
a
mean,
like
this
bag of
this whole
mess.
thing reminds me of something. Now, we didn't talk about this on the show because there was nothing really to talk about aside from the fact that it happened. Um,
Which
and
is
we
most
haven't
things we
and
talk
we and we
about.
we haven't heard anything coming of it, but this might actually be a mark against Amazon. So, like about a month and a half ago, the U.S. government started an antitrust investigations into Amazon, Facebook, and Alphabet, the parent company of Google. Um, so, seeing something like this come up, knowing that there is a current ongoing antitrust investigation going up against Amazon right now, it kind of makes me think maybe this might be something that was brought up as a result of this investigation. Probably some forwarded, some of the information leaked out, which led to the original article, which then caught the attention of the senators, which led to them writing to Bezos. So I'm curious as to the chain of events that led to this, where we are now with regards to this story.